This matchup has shifted entirely. It used to be heavily in favor of Protoss, but since the new patch, well, the Terrans are doing quite a bit better. Spotting right here in the bottom left, playing in red, we're looking inside of the main base of ByuN. His opponent all the way in the upper right, playing with the blue Protoss pieces. We have... I wanted to say we have and we are looking in. We're looking inside of the main base of Nightmare. I know words. I know many of the words. I'm excited for this particular series. So I've obviously seen a lot of European Terran versus Protoss, especially with the Home Story Cup games and all of the online cups that have been running over on the European server as of late. But what have the Koreans been up to? ByuN, of course, a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. Nightmare is somebody that's been very good at the game, but he's always had a very difficult time against the absolute top dogs. And I do consider ByuN to be one of the very best players that we have in the game. But then again, this is a perfect patch for somebody like Nightmare. The new patch really has sort of evened the playing field at the highest level a little bit. Everybody is playing slightly worse now. And obviously that means that, relatively speaking, you might be able to make big progress if you are, well, for example, playing at Nightmare's level, which is probably like between like rank 20 and 30 or so, if I were to make a guess. Globally, that is. So obviously still ridiculously good and better than pretty much any player out there. It's just that if you want to be able to win tournaments, you have to be able to take down somebody like ByuN on a regular basis. And that is never easy. ByuN apparently not opting to go for the engineering bay block. That is something that a lot of the European Terrans have been enjoying as of late. You send out the SCV real early to block the Protoss' natural expansion. It's very expensive for Terran to pull that off. But because of the way that warp gates work right now, a lot of Protoss players just really don't enjoy playing against that sort of thing. I'm really interested to see how Nightmare plays this though. So I have obviously seen some of the Protoss players from Korea play on the new patch too. Like for example, Hero, he seems to just pretend that the gateway nerf, which I guess is what he believes it is, he just pretends that the gateways are now just 25 minerals and 25 gas more expensive. Because he gets the warp gates upgrade and then he immediately transforms the gateway into a warp gate. And that now costs you 25 minerals and 25 gas. Whereas if you don't do so, if you research this upgrade, but you don't transform the gateway into a warp gate, you get a flat 40% production speed boost on the gateway. And I've seen some of the Europeans mess around with that a little bit. Apparently, most of the Koreans that I've seen so far haven't bothered with it. They just play, they just pay the gateway tax, and then they continue playing the game. And you can imagine if every single one of your gateways is 25 minerals and 25 gas more expensive, and your natural expansion gets blocked, so you're forced to take your third base first. Suddenly, you just end up with no army at all, and that's something that a lot of Terran players, are utilizing, at least at this point in the meta. Now, this is interesting. We have a Stalker into a Sentry here from Nightmare. For a while, a couple years ago, quick Twilight Council as well, we used to see a lot of Sentry play. Sentry first was even reasonably common. Stalker into Sentry is not too weird, but you can get the energy recharge, there we go, onto that Sentry, which now allows you to get that Phoenix Scout out really early on. And this is going to give Nightmare full vision of exactly what the Terran player is going for. It's a strong build, but also one that we don't really see all too often lately, but maybe it'll come back. It's going to be a 2cc 111 right here for ByuN, so 1 barracks, 1 factory, and then also 1 starport. He's already setting it up in such a way that it's difficult for the Protoss player to go with some big blink Stalker into the main base, and that will be the follow-up. Now, what do we do? Warp gates are finishing up. Do we pretend that the gateway is just more expensive now? Don't do it, Nightmare. Don't do it. You didn't do it! Look how fast that's building. It's like you're permanently chrono boost, right? But you can also still chrono boost it. This has to be the way that you play this matchup, right? So I think what you do is you keep it in its regular gateway form until you need to use the gateways aggressively. Then you transform them into warp gates. They even get a little boosty boost. You see that? Little animation that we're not really quite used to. But I think you just keep them in their normal gateway form for now. When you want to be aggressive, you transform them over to warp gates so you can quickly reinforce on the other side of the map. And then when you, well, are ready to go back home to defend again if you need to, you can transform them back towards warp gates too and continue enjoying the 40% production speed. It has to be the right thing. Now he did, by the way, go for the warp gate transformation. You do need to be able to warp in units in time, but look at this. Nightmare has a very sufficient amount of troops here. These Widow Mines shouldn't really be able to achieve much, although, yeah, attacking it with probes is a bit risky. Okay. Clean. Very clean defense here by the South Korean Protoss. You love to see it. Third Nexus now. Already mostly done. And what in the world is ByuN going to be able to do against this? I'm curious to see as well how ByuN decides to proceed. So, on the previous patch, what ByuN would very frequently do against Protoss was sit back. Take like 3, maybe 4 bases, and then just let Protoss take the entire map. That particular style has been nerfed from the Protoss' point of view. So Terrans kind of felt compelled, like they had to go ahead and do so. Can you blink into the main base? You can, but it's going to be risky. Alright, not all the Stalkers even fit in there. There's one siege tank on the low ground, but that's really about it. He is going to try and target fire down, though, the Stimpack upgrade, and I think he should be able to get it. That's a big snipe. Blink away, recall? We probably should have recalled a bit sooner. Yeah, I don't really love it, but it's okay. Hallucinated Phoenix, though, that sentry from earlier, still being useful. Raven, by the way, 0 worker kills. So very clean defense at home for Nightmare. Very quick third Nexus down. And then a denial on that Stimpack research. So this is just about perfect for Protoss. Although you still have to be very careful. Obviously, you don't really want to be losing any Stalkers here. So 4 Stalkers probably could have been prevented. Jimmy got picked off. Sorry about that, Jimmy. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot you can do right now as the Terran. You basically have to go back into the Stimpack research, because any sort of attack you want to go for really leans into that upgrade. Shield battery over at the third base. A Raven is going to try and fly around again, but there's plenty of units around the perimeter. New gateways are done. We're going to transform those into warp gates. I think as time goes by, we'll probably see a lot more, like, half gateway, half warp gate type of bases. I would not be surprised. It's all a little bit weird right now, as Protoss players are still getting used to it, but it has to be the correct play. I don't really see how it couldn't be. Nightmare, though, already we're fighting the early game, right? Getting 2 additional Stalkers out a little bit quicker. It made the cleanup against that Widow Mine drop a bit easier. This is nice, though, here for ByuN. Finally able to get a bit of free damage. Robo Bay. Third command center. Man, this command center feels so late. Yeah, insanely late. Extra barracks coming up. Observer, though, is going to see everything. Terran will have a huge army, though. And that's the main thing here for Nightmare that he has to keep in mind. ByuN's macro has been clean, and while he has been slowed down, at least as far as his upgrades go, obviously he has not been slowed down as far as his army production goes. So sometimes you snipe the Stimpack upgrade, and then Terran still comes across the map a little while later, and you realize, wait a second, just the sheer amount of units that Terran has at this point is absolutely massive. Like, for example, if Nightmare throws away these Zealots, don't do it, Nightmare! Okay. If he throws away those units, suddenly the Suddenly the counterattack for ByuN is gonna be insane. No! No! No, 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 no! Oh my god. You know the worst part about this? People are gonna accuse me of pre-watching this game. I swear to god I did not see this game, but it looked like he was gonna lose those Zealots. Pre-watched. Confirmed. Nah, I love this game too much to pre-watch, okay? Pre-watching games is super lame. Alright, some of the Zealots do go home, but this is honestly now a little bit sketchy here for Nightmare. Yeah, we've effectively lost like 10 Zealots. He did kill a couple of Marines, of course, but the main advantage here of having Zealots out is that you can use them as a way to shield for your Colossi. Colossus production has also been delayed somewhat, though. This is now still a very mighty push here for ByuN. He's already mixed in quite a handful of Marauders, yeah. Second siege tank is going to be within range of the 4th Nexus, and goodbye to the 4th base here of Nightmare. A lot of Widow Mines, too. The Widow Mine's mostly just here to prevent Zealots from charging forward. Beautiful movement here by the previous world champion of StarCraft, or I guess the old world champion of StarCraft. ByuN won back in 2016, which is like, what, 4 years ago? Give or take. Raven's still going around the back. That's a joke, by the way. I have to apparently point this out, because every time I make that joke, which I make quite frequently, to be fair, there's always somebody in the YouTube comments section that's like, wait a second, did Lowko just re-upload a video from 2020? Huh? Did you think we wouldn't notice? That's what you sound like in my book if you write those types of comments. Huh? Oh. ByuN accidentally... Oh, hey, wait a second. ByuN accidentally doing the Gold League mistake here. Would you look at that? Accidentally lifting all of his command centers up in the air. ByuN, we gotta land it, dude. Actually a massive mistake. In the meantime, there is still a fight going on as well on the other side of the map, which is why it took so long for the Terran here to correct it. Okay. New Nexus building in the far bottom right. But, as the dust settles, we have 3 bases versus 3 bases. And ByuN's unit composition is really, really nice. He's getting a bunch of ghosts right now in the mix too. I do think it's important not to make too many of them. But having some is really sweet. No real urgency right now for the Terran. The main thing that he's missing, though, is 2-2 research. I'm not entirely sure why we didn't start it up. Yeah, I guess he lost the engineering bay and then bothered, like, he actually still has it. He just never bothered to make a second one together with an armory. That's a big mistake, honestly. Why are we not? There's additional barracks. 6, 7, and 8. 4th command center also added in the mix. But skipping out on 2-2 upgrades is very and really dangerous. Finally, we get it going. Armory as well. But this is going to slow down the Terran a lot. Disruptors available. It's time to dance. It's time to dance to the original Terran music. Ooh, quite like the idea of knocking down the rocks right now. Ooh, so close. The Purification Nova almost went off. A couple of the Marauders do get stuck on the other side, but this is a phenomenal fight right here for ByuN, who's going to be able to absolutely decimate the Protoss army. And with it, this 3rd base is going to go down as well, and I think with it, the chances of Nightmare ever being able to get back into this. Disruptors are really good. But not when you're playing against, well, Micro Jackson himself. You do now, by the way, one-shot Ghosts again, so Ghosts have been reduced to 100 HP, meaning that Disruptors one-shot them. But I mean, yeah, EMP is really powerful, the new animation is sweet. The army is massively overstimmed here. We actually only have a very small number of medevacs. So, yeah, this could be a problem here for ByuN, who's trying to see if he can force his opponent out of the game right now. I can't really blame Nightmare too much for trying it out, because you're always just one Zealot warping away from potentially being able to turn things around, but ByuN easily obtains the victory here in the second half of game number 1. I have a love-hate relationship with the Disruptor. In some games, the Disruptor is amazing, but most of the time, when you're dealing with a top-level Terran, they just don't deal any damage. When you see, for example, Clem or ByuN or Cure or Maru or any of the other top-ranking Terrans go up against Disruptors, they rarely connect. There's a bit of irony there, though, right? Because if you're a ladder hero, aka you are not one of the top-level Terrans, which, of course, you are watching this. I mean, I know my viewers are the absolute very best when it comes to StarCraft 2. Or at least, you know, if you put in the work, you could easily be like ByuN. But anyways, I digress. A lot of ladder heroes out there, though, so not you, do lose their entire army to Disruptors. Now, I guess the key is to just get a lot of Disruptors and then maybe do some, I don't know, distractions around the map so you can potentially get the lucky hit. But it does really I never like strategy so much, I guess, where you kind of rely on the opponent making a mistake for it to be good. You don't really have builds like that for Zerg so much. You can punish mistakes as a Zerg player with, for example, Neural Parasite or like Infestors and Fungal Growth, right? But you don't really need to rely on your opponent being bad in order to take very big damage. And that's my main issue with the Disruptor. You need a little bit of luck that your opponent just happens to either be miscontrolling the army or not paying attention. It's, yeah, I don't know. Like, if you want to make some fundamental changes to StarCraft 2, I think it's kind of weird that Protoss has 3 splash damage units, and 2 of them are locked behind the Robo Bay. Also, I think Reavers are infinitely cooler than Disruptors. But anyways, that's besides the point. Next is again over here on the other side of the map, of course. Cybercore as well. The side of the main base. We should be seeing a command center here in just a moment for ByuN, who's opting to go for just a single gas for now. I'm assuming we're going to be going Stalker into Sentry yet again here for Nightmare, because I really thought the early game, the first half or so of the game, was excellent for him. Right up until the point that he sniped the Stimpack research, the game was going really well. Then he became a little bit aggressive, I guess, with the Zealots, and losing a whole bunch of them is painful. Yep, so it's Sentry after Stalker once more. There's actually a little new animation. I haven't picked up on that yet, but there's a little animation where units first pop out of the gateway. It's kind of weird, right? I'm not hallucinating, right? I'm pretty sure they never really had a little thingy around themselves when they spawn. Look at the Sentry. It's gonna pop out in just a sec. Yeah, it has a little pew. You know, like in Mario Kart when you drive over the little speed up bump thing? They don't get a movement speed boost, it seems, but they do definitely have a little animation. Marines going across the map. I feel like it was more noticeable on the Stalker. We'll see in just a sec. Okay. Nightmare goes around. Sees that yet again we're playing a very similar game. Here's the Stalker, by the way, just about to spawn. You ready? Phew! In the meantime, some Marines going in. Yeah. 3 probes is nice. But that's a lot of dead Mariners. Oh, he lost the Sentry? Wow, that's actually crazy. Losing the Sentry here is very painful. I did not quite catch that on camera. But that is a significant blunder. And it certainly makes the Marine move out worthwhile. ByuN's going to try and hope for a freebie here as well on top of the ramp. I think he's probably going to be picking those Widow Mines up in just a second with the Medevac. But until that point, they'll be hidden over here. Nightmare going for a proxy pylon as well over here on the left side over on the map. Gotta be careful. He sees the second Widow Mine as well, though. You should at least see it. Yeah, he sees a little pothole. Moves around. And of course, you can now get the speedy warp-ins. It's a flat 4-second warp-in without needing a gateway attached to it. So let's see. Blink is going to be available in about a half-minute time. One Stalker does end up biting the dust. Now I don't mind the idea, right, of moving all of your gateways over to Warp Gate form early on. If you're going to be using it aggressively, it makes a lot of sense. Microing the weakened Stalker to the back. Siege Tank is going to siege up. We got to get out. Okay, nice target firing there by ByuN. Going after the low HP Stalker first. 6 SCVs is quite a lot, though. Widowmine, in the meantime, did wander all the way across, but did not get any damage. Okay. Cloak coming up. Cloak on the Banshees. Already, though, a Robo facility added into the mix. Third Next is about a quarter or so of the way done. I feel like this is one of the nicest changes with the patch. Just being able to warp in units without needing a gateway attached to it feels so much better. The whole mechanic of like speedy warp-ins and then slow warp-ins was kind of confusing anyways. Definitely one of the best changes. Okay. We're going to be starting up the Stimpak research here momentarily, which is going to, well, allow us into that lull of Terran versus Protoss that we see in a lot of games. Terrans need to get that Stimpak upgrade done. At least we'll have some Banshee aggression in the meantime. Robo Bay coming up. Charge is going to be done as well in about a minute. Very nice to have against any siege tank-based push, and that's what Nightmare is scouting for right now on the other side of the map. He doesn't really see too much at this point in time. Are we not going to be starting up Stimpak yet, by the way, ByuN? Okay, yeah, he will right now. He needs to. Blinky is done, though. Easy to get away. ByuN is actually thinking about doing a little bit of a push out. He needs to be very careful. Nice snipe on the Medevac. Good snipe as well on the Stalker. Sentry ends up going down. Cloak Banshee in the meantime waiting on the left side of the map. There are 2 Banshees available. One of them going in around the right, although Nightmare sees it right now. I don't think ByuN really wants to be pushing forward. Mostly just trying to threaten. Getting a lot of energy here on the Banshees. Shield battery, though, is going to be real nice. He's got a shield battery over at the start. Should probably be getting one as well inside of the main base, but he does not have one in the natural. And that means that this Banshee can potentially get some work in. The second Banshee did end up going down. How much work can ByuN actually do here? Recall on probably the probes? Oh, on the Stalkers and the Observer? Some misfiring here. ByuN could have had at least another worker, potentially even 2 more. Just barely out of range, but this is not bad right here for Nightmare. Combat shields has been delayed. +1 infantry attacks at the very least is lining up reasonably well. A couple idle SCVs, gotta get them back to work, and he will. Need to make sure we don't lose another group of Zealots. I like having the Zealots out on the map at this point, I think, but you do need to make sure you only move in after you get confirmation that Terran is moving out. So taking the Watchtower for Nightmare is good. He's going to be able to see that indeed there is no Terran move out just yet, so leaving 1 Zealot there for vision is nice. Now the pylon over here on the left side gets sniped. 3rd Command Center finally comes up for ByuN, but this is now going to put him behind if he's not careful. He needs to deal some sort of damage. Mules are good, but don't lose your Zealots again. Run away, run away, run away. No concussive shells yet. I think that's -2 Zealots in the end. Okay. We're already going into Disruptors. So 2 Colossi straight into Disruptors. Viking production has kicked in. And I guess just triggering the Viking production is nice. The Watchtower Zealot is indeed going to get sniped. ByuN knows that there's still Zealots out there. So yeah, he's being a bit hesitant. But all of this dancing is really quite nice here for Nightmare. His income is going to be ahead on the Terran right now. He's getting the 4th Nexus up and running. And he'll be happy to play this more passive approach at this point in the game. Terran just hit their big power spike with Stimpak combat shields and +1. ByuN unable to really utilize it because of that group of Zealots. Okay. Armory, together with the 2nd NG Bay a little bit sooner. ByuN finally finished up the 3rd Command Center. He'll be flying that one over to the right, taking the triangle base. The Zealots, in the meantime, trying to see if they can still be a bit of a nuisance, or maybe just buy a little bit of time. Never a bad idea. 2-2 needs to be fired up here ASAP. There we go. +2 armor is going to have to wait a little bit on itself, but getting the +2 attack going is awesome. We, by the way, even though I may not like Disruptors very much, we are doubling down. 2 balls at a time. How many balls does one need? Actually, let me rephrase that. How many balls does a Protoss need? I think the answer is all the balls. 2nd starport is nice. So if you see that your opponent is going Colossi, getting Vikings out is really important. If you see that your opponent is going Disruptors, you might want to think about making Liberators. Nexus over at the gold base in the far bottom left. If Protosses don't have orifices, though, Why did they have... No, never mind. I don't think you want to fight this Nightmare. Up a ramp into a choke? Don't think so. Nah, I think we can lean into the eco advantage right now. ByuN does not know about the gold base. He probably assumes that this expansion over here has been taken. Ghost Academy coming up, +1 air weapons also researching here for ByuN. Zealots in the meantime moving through to the right side of the map. The positioning here is really good though by Nightmare. Just across the board. ByuN is once more just setting up this very defensive posture, giving up full control of the map. And here we go. Guardian shields get activated. Vikings though do get a couple of really nice shots in. Disruptors force the rest of the army to back up, but that's already -1 Colossus. Ultimately, though, that's also 3 of the Vikings dying. Zealots here a little bit ahead of the party. We do now have a cheeky Banshee in the far bottom left from the early game. Still left over, scouting out this base. Ooh, big blink forward. Huge blink forward. Kind of a risky blink if you ask me. That's another Colossus dying. That now means, of course, that the Vikings are kind of wasteful up in the air. More and more Purification Novas do get sent forward. That Banshee from earlier, man, actually putting in a lot of work. There's no detection in this army. I quite like it. Just picking up a couple of freebies. Yeah, not a bad play. We're gonna go for the Observer speed, apparently. Fair enough. Gold base, though, is up and running at this point, which is huge. ByuN needs to make sure he gets that 4th base. Yeah, mining here ASAP. He's gonna go into the Fusion Core now to get that Liberator ranged upgrade. If you can get a lot of Liberators out, you can shut down any sort of Protoss ground army relatively easily, but it's so expensive. Nightmare a little slow, by the way, on his own upgrades. I think ByuN was a bit slow on those in the last game. Now he is being a bit slow on it, and it is gonna cost him a bit. Although the Disruptor ability is considered spell damage. And spells don't care about upgrades. Oh my god, it's so many balls! Okay, ByuN is actually pretty good at managing all of it, though, but he does lose quite a large chunk of his army in the end. New Disruptors do roll across the map. More and more Zealots get warped in as well. And suddenly, ByuN's army takes an absolute nosedive. It's so easy to accidentally lose against Disruptors. And while I may not like them personally, Nightmare got some excellent value with him here in game number 2. Okay. Final game in his best of 3. We find ourselves on a rainfall. It's a pretty gentle rainfall, right? I mean, yeah, it's rainfall in the strictest sense of the word, but this looks kind of chill. We have a lot of words, actually, for rainfall in Dutch. It's a lot of rain in the Netherlands. This would probably fall under the Dutch category of misere. Misere. Which may actually be a dialect, now that I'm thinking about it. Probably not, though. I think that's probably used in all of the Netherlands, although I'm not really entirely sure. I didn't actually notice, but it makes sense that apparently certain languages have like 100 words for different types of snowfall, right? For us over here, yeah, there's like maybe 2 words for snowfall. Yeah, there's like sneeuw and ijzel, I guess, which would be like a different type of... It's like a more icy version of it. But yeah, the more of a certain type of weather that you have to deal with, apparently the more words a language comes up with naturally. I guess misere would be like the English word would be like a drizzle. This is like a drizzle, right? This seems kind of gentle. Not too bad. Anyways, I'm assuming we are gonna be drizzle LE. I don't know about that one. No, I think rainfall is okay. They did nerf the rainfall on this map. It used to be more aggressive during the Team Liquid map contest. But I actually think this is better. Because believe it or not, having vision of your units and actual legibility maybe should take priority over things visually looking interesting. Which, by the way, is not an issue at all in this map pool, man. Like, I've been playing some 2v2 with Rushy. So I've actually been posting some of those videos up on my second YouTube channel too. That's youtube.com/morelowko if you're interested. But I've been playing some 2v2, and some of the maps in 2v2, they look pretty, but they're very hard to read. It's a problem I run into. Apparently, I complain about it more than most people do. But visual clarity is very important, and I think all of the 1v1 maps that we have are excellent as far as that goes. We have so many new maps, but all of them are really solid. There used to be a 1v1 map called Acolyte that I literally vetoed because in Zerg vs. Zerg, I couldn't distinguish which of my units were mine and which of the units were my opponents. Like, it was just too dark. Visually, it looked really pretty, but I couldn't play it. It's kind of a shitty reason to have to veto a map, right? Maybe it's because I'm blind, I don't know. Some maps also have historically had advantages to turning the graphics all the way down to low. I don't know if there's one currently in the map pool, but I've never really liked playing on the absolute lowest graphics settings because I like the game to look pretty, right? It's not such a weird thing to say. There is such a thing, I guess, as lowering it down all the way to the bare essentials and just playing with the absolute, well, basics to reduce visual clutter, but I like it when it looks a little bit better. Anyhow, it's a thing people actually do in Age of Empires 2 that's been blowing my mind. In Age of Empires 2, you can install mods that visually change the game. So this is perfectly allowed, and it's like an official game feature. And some people install this thing called the Cube mod that basically reduces everything down to just cubes. It is the ugliest thing in the world. It is like, obviously it increases visibility and visual clarity, but my god. I don't think you can do it. You shouldn't be doing it to yourself. Anyhow, it's gonna be a good old Blinkstalker opener right here for Nightmare. No surprise. This does seem to be, by the way, the, well, I was gonna say the new version of Protoss versus Terran, but it's just like 10 different flavors of Blinkstalker openers, at least in the first couple weeks on the new patch. No surprise, I guess, across the board. It's just really, well, a powerful setup. He's got warp gates done, by the way. And yet again, look how fast that builds. You can't tell me that's not good, right? And you could still be chronoing this as well to make it boost even quicker. I guess the gateway change really is also like a mindset type of change. Beautiful intersection, by the way. Ooh, that's spicy. ByuN loses the medevac before it ever arrived inside of the main base. Big pick off there for Nightmare, but Protoss players are kind of used to being able to warp in units in a pinch. Losing that is, yeah, going to take a bit of time. Believe it or not, though, it's perfectly possible. Terran players, as a matter of fact, have been building units one at a time, or maybe two at a time, out of structures ever since the very early days. Okay. Shield battery inside of the main base as well. Third Nexus planted down once more. Robo Bay. So he can go ahead and extend his thermal lance in just a little bit. And isn't that what we all want to do? Isn't that the dream? Okay. Raven moving around. Charge. Siege tank production to start it up. Observer. Yeah, I think he saw the Observer. Doesn't really want to waste a scan on it at this stage in the game. As a matter of fact, he doesn't have energy for the scan. Don't do it, Nightmare! I don't think you want to blink in, dude. I know the green light inside of the tech lab looks really enticing, but I don't think you want to blink in. You're gonna torn to pieces. It is important, by the way, to not forget about extending your thermal lance. There we go. It's an expensive upgrade, but without it, Colossi are not nearly as good. Yeah, and now getting the transformation done on the warp gates is kind of expensive. One complaint that I've heard from Protoss players is that when you now make a gateway, it doesn't automatically transform to a warp gate, and all of the warp gates get put onto an automatic control group. So for my hotkey setup, it's hotkey Y, which allows me to like press one button on the keyboard and then I have all of my warp gates selected. And I had a discussion with someone saying that like it was now really hard to play Protoss because you actually had to hotkey your structures. I kid you not. Which I find very ironic. Oh no, you gotta make control groups? That's crazy, man. Unplayable, confirmed. Even though the other two races do it already. Anyways, third command center coming up here for ByuN. He's gonna try and see if he can get a free pickoff. It's not gonna be Stimpack this late into the game, but denying combat shields this close to it finishing up is huge. Wants to get the medevac as well. Ooh, gets it. Instant recall as well. 2 stalkers. Yeah, 2 stalkers for a tech lab. Combat shields. And the medevac. Pretty good deal. Can you really go for a move out right now if you're ByuN? Nah, Nightmare doesn't believe that he can. He wants to try and see if he can meet this Terran player in the middle of the map if he does decide to go for a cheeky move out. And suddenly these type of medevac drops become really risky for ByuN, because this is what he's got currently at home. It's really not that big of an army. Should be okay for now, but if he tries to fly the CC down to the low ground, he could be caught with his pants down. And ooh, here he goes. Let's do the charge forward. Kind of a risky play for Nightmare. Love the Widow Mines. Love the Widow Mines here. Medevac drop, by the way, not returning home. I think we probably want to dance for a bit, but then retreat. No reason to be too aggressive. Medevac drop has arrived inside of the main base. There's still a gateway over here that has not been, okay, swapped over. Oh, he lost the Colossus here. That's actually kind of messy. The siege tank must have been just barely within range. And this over here is going way better for ByuN than it ever really was supposed to. Looks like the Raven has been cleaned up at the bottom of the map. But Nightmare is kind of falling apart a bit here over the last 30 seconds, even though he should have been in full control. Big misplay there for the Protoss. ByuN retargeting me with the siege tank. That's another one of those things that I feel like happens primarily at the absolute highest echelons of StarCraft 2. Because there's so many little things to micro as a Terran player that target firing with siege tanks is something that needs to be done, but it's just really difficult for it to actually get done, right? It's much easier to just siege up the tank and hope for the best. ByuN, though, actively retargeting with siege tanks all the time. Very likely ended up sniping the Colossus because of it. So you know what we were going to do? We're going to go back to Disruptors yet again. I feel like 1 Disruptor is kind of pointless. But once you get like 6, maybe 7, life's good. Or 8. Second starport coming up. Armory as well. Second engineering bay. A lot of new music, by the way, has been added to all of the different tracks available in-game. I've mentioned this a few times already, but they did update the playlist that now plays in the background for all of the multiplayer matches, which is pretty sweet. So it now includes a lot more tunes from both StarCraft 1, but also from StarCraft 2 that were unused in the past. So, for example, the Nova Coverdops, those tracks never got added to the multiplayer games, which is sick. Honestly, one of my favorite changes. Some of the songs are a little bit jarring. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to it, but it is really nice to hear a little bit more variety yet again. Okay, because ByuN ended up losing the combat shields upgrade, he had to remake it, and it slowed the entire game down so much. Then again, though, compared to the previous patch, Protoss can't really immediately utilize it. I feel like in the past, if Terrans lost, for example, Stimpack or combat shields, you blink once, and suddenly Protoss has 7 bases. That's no longer really the case here. Nightmare is a base up. He does have a good economy, and I do like this position for him slightly better. But this is a very throwable position. Big Zealot warp inside of the main base, trying to force that entire Terran army back into the main base. Opening up a potential opportunity now for the main Protoss army to move in through the front. Medevac drop goes in around the side. Careful, though. Stalkers waiting around all of those expansions. And that is 17 SCVs dying here. 5th base in the bottom left. Disruptor production doubled up, and we're going to be able to warp in a lot more units. There's the double research as well coming up inside of the forges, and apparently Nightmare did actually hotkey all of his gateways. Crazy take. Medevac trying to find a way to sneak out. The Zealots here. Ooh. Just barely blocking the command center from landing. Nightmare is playing this out very well. ByuN is going to hit a +2/+2 upgrade timing, though, in just a moment, which is going to really hurt Protoss. Ooh, Medevac here rallied through the entire army. One of the Vikings, though, does end up getting the final shot onto one of the Colossi. As we're now following this up with the Invisible Men. Zealots, though, once more going through. And Nightmare is really starting to grab control of this game here. He's not nearly as rich, though, as he would have been on the previous patch. You can really see it reflected now in the resource counts. Disruptors forcing this Terran army to back up again. Command center lives for now. We need to repair it. ByuN is quick on the repair, and the CC will survive. Very quickly regenerating HP. Bottom left-hand corner now done. Upgrades are a little bit disjointed, but ByuN is all over them. Previously, we've had a lot of Zealot run-bys. Soon, we can start moving on over towards Dark Templar run-bys instead. Far more dangerous for the Terran player to deal with, but also far more expensive to execute. Nice Nova connection over there. More and more of the Marauders do get chipped away at. Keep in mind that Marauders at full HP do not get one-shot by a Disruptor hit. Fighting up a ramp into a choke point is so risky, but Nightmare is just sending more and more Zealots around. I gotta say, I'm really impressed with the way that Nightmare is approaching all of this. The Disruptors do get picked off, but not quite all in time. Still, though, there's a lot more Terran units that were on the right side of this fight. A couple of the Stalkers misfire as well onto a supply depot. Nightmare is gonna have to retreat. Overextension there for Protoss. Really hurts him here. We're gonna go into the Dark Templar Blink upgrade as well. ByuN adding on the addition of the Ghost now. EMPs are really sweet. I think he's had a few of them out already, yeah. Just a handful of EMPs, though, can be extremely nice, especially against clumped up units. Like, for example, Zealots here. So far, I haven't really seen a lot of Protoss players make use of Storm. So Storm has been reduced to 10 less damage output than it did in the past. And I don't know. Playing with Storm a little bit. Also playing against Storm a little bit. It just kind of feels like a little, like a drizzle. I guess that would be appropriate for this map. But Storm used to deal so much damage per second, and now it kind of feels like whatever. Maybe that's why we haven't been seeing it much in this matchup at all. Maybe we gotta rename that ability, man. Psionic Drizzle. How about that? Here we go, though. ByuN needs to be careful. Ooh, big EMPs here onto a lot of the Zealots. I love that new animation. And you know what? The addition here of the Planetary Fortress is going to prove absolutely critical. Because I think this entire Terran army would have died without it. Nightmare needs to back up. He's trying to play the Gateway Man style that we saw so much on the previous patch. But he's doing it off of 78 workers. His upgrades were also quite late. So the way in which he's navigating this game, it's a bit different than what we used to see, and I really don't know if it's going to be as effective. He's very much so reliant on Terran, though, not getting another base up. It's going to be difficult for ByuN to ever take another expansion. He is going to fire up a new CC right now, but he's going to already once more get attacked here by Protoss. The Disruptors used as a zoning tool to now open up a lot of potential SCV kills here on the low ground. Stalkers blink towards the right side. There's a lot of Marauders available, though. Good control here by ByuN yet again. Looks like he's going to be able to push this back once more. An additional 9 SCVs end up going down. That's now 38 of those bad boys in total. CC needs to land. Come on, dude. Ah! Sometimes. Ooh, sometimes! My god, he does snipe at least 2 of them, I think, before they detonate it, but gotta be so careful. Playing with fire, man. Everybody's got a plan until they get hit with a ball in the mouth. Or whatever Mike Tyson said. Invisible Men coming up. We have a whole bunch of them waiting up north. While the skirmish is happening over here, while the dance is happening over on the left, ByuN really can't look away, because before you know it, 2 Disruptors decimate your army. And you know what? That allows the Dark Templar to jump onto the planetary and absolutely delete it. And I feel like this is where Disruptors can be really good, man. Because you need to respect him as a Terran, right? You can't really... Ooh, look away. New to Dark Templar because of the EMP. They're going to regain cloaking here in just a moment. You gotta respect the Disruptors. If you don't, as a Terran player, you're just gonna lose everything in a heartbeat. Nightmare now, nice enough to try and become neighbors with the Terran. Jimmy over here, very brave. Does get sliced up. Yeah, and the DTs are having a good time, man. ByuN wants to try and see if he can retake another base. This time around over here in the middle, fresh mineral line available to him, but is this actually the right move? Because while he's fighting over here and while he's dodging Disruptors, again, you can see them over here on the left side of your screen. The Dark Templar are going in for even more fighting, and it's forcing ByuN right now to back off. Only 25 SCVs remain, man. Another EMP, we could even try to recall. Yep, super annoying. He's going to be able to get rid of most of these Dark Templar, but still, the fight is still continuing right over here in the middle. And suddenly, it feels to me like Nightmare has been stepping up. We've seen a couple of pretty significant errors, like for example that here for ByuN, but we've seen him throw away for example a Colossus. We've also seen him be maybe a bit overly aggressive with one of the early game Blink Stalker micro. But I feel like if Nightmare puts it all together, and he's real close to basically playing the perfect game, when he puts it all together, he's going to be nearly unstoppable. So about a week ago, a lot of Protoss players were claiming that this matchup is unwinnable. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. This seemed really good from Nightmare. And ByuN really didn't stand a chance in his last game. GG.